I'm Peter Austin, that is a teddy bear, and this is interesting. A few weeks ago, while I was doing a few jobs around the house, I stopped for a moment to look at Clifford Bear here, my wife's long-standing companion who's been loved and cuddled far beyond the integrity of his fur over the decades, and it suddenly occurred to me how much we take it for granted that teddies are bears specifically. Bears, why is that really? It's such a familiar image to us all, but it is a bit odd when you actually stop to ask why. Surely domesticated animals like dogs and cats ought to have come out on top in the battle for dominant species of cuddly toy. And if not them, then at least an animal that, wouldn't tear you limb from limb if you encountered one in the wild. Well, as it happens, one particular encounter in the wild is what actually gave rise to the stuffed bear image we know today. And though you may already be aware that the name teddy bear comes from a certain historical figure, you might not be so familiar with how that actually came about. I certainly wasn't. So go on, grab your favourite childhood Ursine plushie while I tell you all about the history of the teddy bear. A special thanks, by the way, to my wonderful viewers who've been submitting photos of their own teddies for the past few weeks. I'll try to show as many as possible in this video. So let's start with a factoid that, as said, some of you will already be aware of, even if you're not sure of the backstory. The teddy bear, that is any bear-shaped stuffed toy, is in fact named after the 16th President of the United States, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt. But we don't just owe the name to TR. In fact, the very idea of a stuffed bear toy was inspired by an incident involving the president that took place in the early 20th century. The story goes that in 1902, Roosevelt was invited on a bear hunting trip by the governor of Mississippi. Sometime into the hunt, the party's hounds successfully cornered a black bear, which was then subdued by the hunters and tied to a tree. But when it was suggested that Roosevelt should shoot the bear, he refused, stating it would be unsportsmanlike to kill an animal that was tied up like that. When word of this story reached the Washington Post, a cartoonist by the name of Clifford Berryman, oddly enough no relation to Clifford Bear, published a drawing of the incident, this version with a particularly young and cute-looking bear being the most famous of multiple editions. This image was captioned, "Drawing the Line in Mississippi," a double meaning referring not only to the president's principles, but also the fact that his business in Mississippi at that time involved settling a border dispute with neighbouring Louisiana. But still, a political cartoon of a bear is not the same as a stuffed toy, I'll grant you. We're only halfway there, really, and indeed it could have all ended right here were it not for the actions of Morris Michtam and his wife Rose, a couple who ran a sweet shop in Brooklyn at the time. Inspired by the cartoon in the paper, they created a cute stuffed bear toy to sit in their window, just like this one, and it seems their customers immediately fell in love with the thing, with dozens of them requesting to buy one for themselves or their children. In 1903, Michtam established the Ideal Novelty and Toy Company to keep up with demand, and even acquired permission from Roosevelt himself to officially market the toy as Teddy's Bear, and the fashion simply grew from there, with the apostrophe S eventually being dropped. In fact, Roosevelt even adopted the toy himself as a mascot for his successful re-election campaign. Since then, teddy bears have come in all colours, shapes and sizes, and we've moved far beyond species native to America too. This panda, for instance, was bought for my mum when she was a child, and meanwhile my dad grew up with Blue Ted. Now, I'm no zoologist, but I don't think they come in this colour in the wild. Happy teddies, grumpy teddies, clothed teddies, branded teddies, collectible teddies, and how about this one, kindly loaned to me by my uncle for this video. He was bought by my great-grandmother for her grandchildren to play with, but despite being 60 years old, he's got all the technological advancements of a late 20th century action figure. Look, 4 points of articulation, ho-ho, and if you listen really carefully... Move over Buzz Lightyear, am I right? Admittedly, I do remember it having a much longer and stronger growl when I used to play with it in the 90s, but, age comes for us all, doesn't it? The point is that we really do take the teddy bear image for granted these days. You look at a plushie now and it makes total sense that it takes the form of a bear, but were it not for that origin story about the hunting party, some other animal could quite easily have become the quintessential and ubiquitous cuddly critter in its place. In fact, if one particular copycat had got its way in 1909, things could have been very different indeed. You could be tucking your baby up at night with one of these. You see, when Roosevelt left office after his second term, many toy manufacturers suspected that the teddy bear bubble might burst, a reasonable assumption to be fair. So, keen to come up with a new product to replace the seemingly doomed bear trend, another cartoonist, Louis C. Gregg, looked to Roosevelt's successor, William Howard Taft, who, amongst other things, was known for regularly eating roasted opossum. Yummy. Enter Billy Possum. Possum being the common word in the US for what the rest of us call an opossum, which isn't confusing at all. Much like the Teddy's Bear produced by the Mictums, a stuffed marsupial toy was developed in 1909, named after the incumbent president with his blessing, and marketed under the Georgia Billy Possum Company. One rather horrifying difference, though, is that initial experiments with the design involved literally stuffing actual opossum skins rather than creating plushies from scratch. This idea fortunately never got beyond the prototyping phase, but it didn't really make much difference, to be honest. Billy Possum, even in traditional plush form, never really took off like Roosevelt's Teddy. Partly, I suspect, because the refusal to shoot a bear by one president is a damn sight more endearing than the fact that his successor liked to eat roasted opossum. This ad from the time says it all, really. "We love Billy Possum, his coat is so warm, if even we eat him, he'll do us no harm. No more teddy bear will we fondle with glee, Billy Possum in future our mascot shall be." It's just so forced, you know? Remember teddy bears? You'll love Billy Possum. It's like when online trends become immediately cringy when the big corporations get a hold of them. But hey, I'm not complaining. As we all know now, the trend for teddies did not end up dying with the end of Roosevelt's presidency, and with Billy Possum failing to move in on his patch, the bear has remained popular to this day, with over 20 million of them purchased worldwide every year. And now you know where it all began. I've been Peter Austin, he's been Clifford Bear, and that was interesting. Thanks again to everyone who sent in a teddy bear photo for this video. My inbox has never looked so wholesome. I'm so sorry I couldn't include them all, but rest assured, we enjoyed receiving every single one. And hey, if you want to learn another weird story about product origins, you can check out this video to learn how Pringles were tricked by a couple of college pranksters into officially naming their mascot Julius.